My name is John Bartel. I'm a customer success engineer with ShareFile. I've been with Citrix/ShareFile for about 6.5 years now, and love this role. Love to do these webinars. We have a little special treat for you in terms of sharing, or I should say, showing our new ShareFlow. It's a little tongue twister if you keep saying ShareFile and ShareFlow. So let's get started here. Like I said, we want to be sure that all your users can access the ShareFile instance that was stood up. Now, you might not be the administrator in this webinar. You might be somebody that just got ShareFile within your company and you're just needing to understand how to get to it. So with that, your administrator, when they first onboard, they create a domain, just like you see up the top here. Just like you would have any kind of website, if you will, to go to. You're going to have a customized domain. Like I have here, ShareFile, rocks.sharefile.com. Love this one. I got to keep it, so this is a great one for our demo. But if you ever want to follow along with the webinars, simply type in your subdomain at the top there, and you will be greeted with a page similar to this. Now, when you first are presented with this, it could go a couple different ways, right? Your company has the ability to create a single sign-on method for you to authenticate. That's off to the left-hand side. You might not see this right away. This is something, again, your administrator needs to do beforehand before you see this. But typically, if you did get a sign-on login for your ShareFile account, you're going to be logging in off to the right here. With that, I'm going to log into my account that I have, my administrative account. So we can look in. Now, by the way, if you did forget your password, there is a forget password option here. It's self-driven in terms of resetting your password. So if you did, go through this link and you'll get set there. So I'm going to log in. And we're going to be presented with our dashboard. Now, again, this is what you're going to be greeted with every time you're going to log in. So you want to get a little familiar. You want to, of course, just be a little comfortable with how to navigate through ShareFile. So let's go through that right now. So first off, you're going to see you have your profile up here. It's your name. You can customize a little bit of your logo. That's down in your personal settings down here if you wanted to. But the couple different panels that you'll see here is first off your recent files. So anything you've opened in ShareFile, you've uploaded to ShareFile, you've shared out, things like that will show up in any recent file section here so that you can easily access those files. Something maybe you're working on a document within ShareFile and it's something you're always accessing. It's an easy way just to jump right into the document. Shortcuts, we're going to talk a couple of the most important ones here is the share files and request files. This is how you're going to share out your data, but you do have some other options here based on your permissions within ShareFile that you can actually leverage. Then down below, we are revitalizing a lot of our tutorials. From here, you could click on these links. These are videos to some of the most common operations that you will have within ShareFile. And if you do want to discover a little bit more beyond just getting started, we do have other sections, basics, advanced, and of course, it goes over our ShareFile absence. The web side is one main way to access it, but we do have other applications to access ShareFile in your data within it itself. So again, these are being revitalized as we actually go through this webinar. So you'll see some of that material update as, of course, you adventure through your ShareFile instance. So off to the left-hand side here, let's start out just by briefly going over some of these options here. You might not see all these options within your instance. Again, that depends on how your administrator set this up. But let's go through some of the common ones. So if you drop down folders, this is where you're going to live in terms of keeping your data and how to access it. So first off is your personal folders. Personal folders are just that. Think of this as your My Documents folder within Windows, right? You usually want to keep a lot of that data within the My Documents folder so that, again, you keep it organized. It's not necessarily for sharing. You're working on something. Your personal folder is just that. You can upload your data to it, create folders, if you will. And this is a typical spot that you really won't share your data out. You can share it out, if you will, and we will go through that process later on. But and typically, the best practice is within your personal folder, don't share anything out from here. This is where you're just going to keep your data and work on it for your own personal needs. Now let's jump over to shared folders. Shared folders is just that. These are folders that are shared to you or you share out to others. So these folders I have access to under my account. And again, these could have been ones that I've created. and I've allowed to have others access this folder. And we're going to get back over to folder management a little later. But this is a simple way of just uploading your data and then from there being able to share out that data. On the left now, we have favorites. You'll see little stars next to any of your folders or your files. If you hit that star, that will actually put it into your favorite section here. So this is good for if, say, for instance, you have a large folder structure, you have a lot of subfolders under that, and you want to quickly access one of those subfolders because you're working on it constantly, simply hit that star and that will show up in your favorites. Down below, I do have some third-party connectors. We have the ability to connect other services, things like local network shares, SharePoint, OneDrive for business, things like that we integrate with natively so that we can aggregate your data within these resources so you can access them directly through ShareFile. As you can see, I would have to authenticate a couple things here in terms of accessing those connectors. Definitely something more for our advanced class. We do have the file box. Your file box is a temporary space where you're going to actually keep all of that data that you're temporarily sending over to ShareFile. For instance, if I create a share and I'm, say, bringing in a file from my local desktop, when it uploads, it's going to upload to this temporary spot here. Just as it says here, you have up to 180 days before data is deleted within here. So if I did want to permanently move this into a folder, I can simply checkmark this and I could choose to move it or copy into a more permanent folder under shared or personal folders. And then finally, you have a recycle bin. Your recycle bin is just like a Windows or a Mac recycle bin. If you delete something, it's going to end up in your recycle bin. You have up to 45 days before you can, this actually permanently deletes in here, so you can restore the files, if you will. And as you can see, I could just simply check mark one of these and then restore, and I can also permanently delete it if I wanted to. And then down below, just one other thing I want to hint to. Of course, we do have workflow signatures. That's our e-signing functionality. We do have built-in workflows. Again, something we're not going to have in terms of course, this class, but we will go through it in some of our advanced classes. One thing we're going to talk about, though, today is our inbox. Our inbox just works like a normal mailbox, right? Just like you would have with your, say, Outlook mailbox. You have your sent and received items, things that you're sharing and getting received to through email. And then you do have an archive section, which allows you to archive certain shares if you want them to. In terms of historical reasons or importance, you could put those into that archive section to keep it for later. And then finally, I did want to show one thing under settings. Again, unless you're not an admin, you're going to see just personal settings under settings, and that will just allow you to change some of your settings like your password, email notifications, your time and date, and of course, most importantly, of course, your profile, which of course we have our cool ShareFile logo here. All right. So that is pretty cut and dry in terms of how to navigate of your ShareFile dashboard. At the top, you do also have one other thing I forgot to mention here is your search. Your search button allows you to search really any file that you have uploaded to ShareFile. So it's an easy way to look for something if you forgot the name of the file, or also there could be ways to actually search the context of a document, something like a keyword that you're looking for in a document. So use search if you can't find a file, or if you're just trying to easily retrieve something that maybe perhaps somebody shared with you and you're just trying to find it. All right. So without further ado, let's jump into how we share with users. Now, this can happen externally, internally within your company, no matter what. This all kind of works the same in regards to getting a file out to share. And this is now our new share flow. Just like Delia kind of announced, we have made changes to this visually. We made it simpler in means of clicking less options to get a share link to send that out right away. So this is an easier way of just getting something out quickly. We did visually update it as well, so you'll see here in a second. So let's get started. There are, of course, a couple different ways which I'm going to go through in terms of how to share, but the straightforward way is you could go through your shortcuts here. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and share a file. Now, if you are new to this new share flow, you will get a small pop-up here in a tutorial. If you do click this link, it does direct you over to our documents to show step-by-step how to do this. So if you didn't want to go through just our video here, looking at the webinar again, we do have a document here that explains how to do this. Now, for this instance, it's first going to ask me what I want to share, correct? And now I can simply drag and drop something from my desktop, which that's what I'm going to do right now. I have a document that I have selected. I need to share that out to somebody. I can add more items here. So if I did forget to upload something here, I had multiple files, I could simply come in here and choose it. Now, again, I could either do it from my device, which will open just a new window here. So I can, of course, choose from my local desktop or from a share. And then also I have it from ShareFile. So if this was already existing, say for instance, of course, I had something in my personal documents or my shared folder I needed to share out, I could simply come in here and check mark what I want. So now I have multiple files in here. I'm going to click continue. Now on this section here, it's going to give you two different options. Now, one option, of course, that a lot of people like doing is simply getting a link. If I click that get a link, it's going to automatically generate a new share for me, a new unique URL. Now I could simply take this and send this off to who I need, and they should be able to access this. But if you're familiar with ShareFile and the way we share, there are other options to, say, include or exclude certain options or operations. So if I click on edit options here, I can come down and choose a couple different operations to make this a little bit more secure. So say, for instance, this share, I only wanted people to view. And by default, of course, we do have download. So of course, download allows you to view and download. And then we do also have edit. And you'll notice this, of course, it does say sign in required. So say, for instance, you wanted to work with somebody on a document together, say like a Word document, we do have something called co-editing within ShareFile. So you can edit live with another individual inside or outside your company. Now, again, that does require us to sign in. So if we drop that down, as you can see, by default, we're anonymous, meaning anyone can look at this link. There's no sign in required. I could take that link, put it in the browser, and I could view or download that document. But as you can see down here, we do have a couple other options: client and employee user login, and also just employee login. So you do have a differentiating between that. And then from there, you should be able to go ahead and choose the edit option there. Now, for this instance, we're going to also choose how we want this to expire after a certain period of time. So this isn't going to delete the actual files that I'm sending. This is just expiring the link that I'm sharing to access those files. So for this instance, we could just actually do 1 day, because say this is an important topic. This is a document that needs to be done. It needs to be sent out to my manager by tomorrow. So we need to be sure that we can see it and view it and download it for what we need to do. Down below, we also have always linked to the latest version of the file. This is always good. We do have something called versioning within ShareFile. And what versioning is just that if we have multiple files with the same name within the same folder, it won't overwrite that file name. It's going to actually save, say, John Doe, put up a new version of the document. It's not going to overwrite it. It's going to save it as the newest version. You can go back to previous versions of the file and look those up and download them if you will. But this assures that we're always using the latest version of that file that we're sharing out to. We do have adding the ability to watermark as well. So it will actually provide an overlay of a watermark. Again, this is something a little bit more for an advanced class. And then most importantly is the notify. I want to be notified when anyone is accessing this link. So I get emailed and notified when, say, if I send this over to John Doe, he opens it up, he's viewing it, he's downloading it, I'll be notified of those actions. So it's very particular. I want to know what's actually happening when I do share that. I don't want it just get it sent out and me not knowing if they actually did access it or not. So with that, I can simply hit save. And I'm ready to go. I could simply copy this and open this up into another browser, and I'm off to the races. Now, one other thing I did want to show is if I come back over to, say, a shared folder, say in customer one, I had a particular file, this new hire confirmation document that I wanted to share out. I can simply click on the link. On the file. And by the way, I can choose multiple ones, just like how I added multiple ones in my past experience there, or the past demonstration there. But from here, I can simply hit share. And that will show me all the links that I've previously created one here. If there wasn't one created, it will automatically create one for you by default and give you some of these default options. But say, for instance, I wanted to add or take away some of the operations within the share link itself. I have this one share link out. I sent this out. This one, let's see, we had it so that it was going to edit. So I was able to send this out to edit the document with somebody. I required them to sign in, and it expired after 180 days. Say, for instance, I didn't want to require them to sign in. I can simply create that additional link and have additional share link that I can send out to somebody else so that I don't have to reuse the same share link that I've created previously. Of course, you can simply click on the share another link, and then I can create multiple options here based on, again, that need. And as you can see, if I create and copy, that's just going to create the new one down here below. So as you can see, if there was ever a need to go back to be sure if that link settings, the link settings that I created were correct, I can always come back here and historically see all the different share links that I've created. I can simply delete the link itself, or I can replace it. Or I can simply go back and edit the options. And as you can see, it does give you a little warning at the top that anything that I'm changing here is going to reflect on what the link does on the people I already gave it to. So just a word of caution there is, if I do change this, this is going to be changed for the people in terms of their access that already has this link. Now, say for instance, I wanted to send this through email, because again, this just created those links, so I can copy that, put in an email, or if I'm using Teams or Slack, if you will, if I'm communicating with individuals, I could simply give them that link by copying it and pasting it. But say, for instance, I wanted to send it to a specific person. So when I click that, this will give me the option to send an email. So let's go through this really quickly and go through some of the points here. You pretty much have all the options in terms of security, like I just went over in creating the link option. But from here, the first option is I can also encrypt my email. And encrypting your email is just a additional option in terms of encrypting the body of the email itself. Your data is already encrypted. You don't have to do anything else other than checkmark this option if you wanted to further provide more security to what I'm sending out. Again, this is just allowing us to encrypt the body of the message as well. This isn't required, but this is good if you're going to be sending secure documents, if you have personal information that you're sending over to somebody. I do recommend, of course, toggling, of course, the encrypting of your email. And then within here, you do have, let's turn that actually off. Within here, just like how I created the links previously, you do have what I want to allow them to do. I can expire the link after a period of time. And then also, just like you saw in those other drop downs, we could require those recipients to log in, meaning they have to log into their ShareFile account before they can, say, download or view the documents that I'm sharing. And then we do have the latest version option, the watermarking capability, and then, of course, your notification. You can also send you a copy of this email, so it does get sent to you to validate, hey, this is what I sent. I just want to keep a copy of myself just to be sure I did everything right. So then I could save there. And then first I need to start typing in somebody that I want to send it to. Now, if you've already worked with somebody within ShareFile, you've already sent them a share, they should be already in the system as an employee or a client. So from here, I can drop down and say, for instance, I'm going to go send this over to Mr. John Doe. If they're not already in the system, you could simply type in their email address in here. If they would be considered most likely a client if you're sending this externally, they're not part of your company, they're not a licensed user. That person, if they've never logged in and say we required them to sign in, it will go through the process of creating them a client account, so then they can access, of course, that share that we give them. And then lastly, I could change up the subject title and also the message. And we can start sending this off. That's it. That's all we had to do to send that email off. On the client side, if I did send it through email, you'll see it come in as such. and then all they would have to do is click on the open. Again, like I said, if we did require them to sign in, I didn't require them to sign in, but it will first take them to the authentication page like you saw before, and that will allow them to log in. If they don't have that client account, again, it will go through the paces of helping them create the client account. So you don't have to really do anything on the back end before you send it to somebody externally. All right. So with that, again, just to kind of recap on that, again, from the dashboard, you have the share option here. You can simply start by just choosing where, of course, that file is coming from. For instance, we're going to just, and we could do also the folder there, but we'll just do the new hire here and continue. That will remind me that, of course, I shared this out before. And remember, we have those several different shares that we've created, and we can manage from here. And of course, I can create another link if I want to, again, send it out to a specific person, and we're good to go. By the way, again, if you did ever want to manage your links, this is the easiest way, but I'm going to show you a different way as well and how you can expire your links outside of just going to the file. Now, let's quickly talk about just how we request a file, right? When we want to request a file, say, for instance, we had Mr. John Doe and we needed a certain tax form from him. We're missing something on his file. I need to get that into my ShareFile instance so that, again, I can get that filed away and I can start his tax return. So what I can do is simply hit on Request Files. And this is going to first bring up a screen in the file location and where that file wants to be uploaded to. By default, it goes to your file box. Remember, that file box, that temporary space, that's going to keep it there for up to 180 days, or else it's going to automatically delete. But this wants to be, say, something a little bit more permanent. So I'm going to click on Edit, and I'm going to drop this down under Shared File folders. And say, for instance, I already have a client folder for Mr. John Doe. So I want all of his things to get uploaded to his actual folder that I created for him. I'm going to click Done. And now I have the two different ways. Remember, when we created the share link, we did that in the first example in terms of creating the link, or I can email them. So for this instance, if I click on Get a Link, very simply, I have this by default. I have the link, and what they will see is when I send this over to the client, is if I tell it to go, it's going to simply bring them into a screen as such, and they can simply drag and drop the files that you're requesting from them. Maybe you already communicated to them already. Again, that could be also another reason why you might want to send through email instead of creating a link, because in the email you can create a message and indicate, hey, we need file A, B, and C before we could proceed with, say, your tax return. So also you do have the edit options here. We do have some security settings. Again, same thing where we can actually choose it to be anonymous in terms of the link, or we can require them to put in some information about themselves, or require them to sign into their account first before they upload. Also, we can expire that request link as well, just like how we created the share link. Say it's time sensitive. Again, we only want that upload to be available for 1 day. So we want that to expire after 1 day. And then finally, you do have notifications. So again, an easy way to be notified when John Doe does upload those files that were requested. You will get email to indicate that they did as such. So we could save there and we're ready to go. So let's kind of go back and go through the email option. Same kind of interface when we shared. So if I started typing Mr. John Doe's name, I'll see that. And then I'm going to send a message here. A, B, and C. And again, we can make those changes to the link and how they access it. And I'm going to request. So John Doe should get an email here. As you can see here, requested some files from Mr. John Bartel, that's myself. And simply we can click on that upload option, and that will, again, in turn, bring them over to a very simple page for them to drag and drop their files, or browse their files if it's saying on another network drive that they can upload from here. Very easy, very simple. So just to recap on the new share flow, if you were familiar with how you were sharing before, as you could see, the same options and security are all still there. Visually, we just made it a lot simpler in terms of how we get that file shared right away. So less steps, less ways of just kind of screwing up, because you do have the ability then to, remember, go back over to a shared file and see what you shared out. So again, oops, let me back up once, went ahead of myself, and I shared out. Remember, I can always come back here now and edit these shared links or delete them if I will. So that's the big difference with the new ShareFlow. The ease of getting a share link out and requesting a file, but also managing your existing shares. Of course, being able to edit those security options, being able to delete them, replacing the link, things like that definitely provide a better quality of life when you're dealing with sharing out things with ShareFile. So again, just like Delia said, we are rolling this out. If you don't see it, that should be coming in about a week or two. So definitely look out for that change if you don't see it already on your account. All right, so let's jump to the last couple things that we wanted to talk about today. And that is, first off, your inbox. So just like we talked about how we sent emails through the means of sharing a file, you could actually retrieve or see all of those items being sent out within your inbox. So let's start in the sent items, because I did just send out a couple different links. As you can see, here's that link that I actually sent out to Mr. John Doe. And just like we could click on the file and share to be able to do something with it, we can actually come here as well to expire the link. Just like how we deleted the link, of course, in that new share flow, I can also come in here and expire that link as well manually. Say, for instance, John Doe said, hey, I never got it. Perhaps we had a new spam filter and we corrected the problem on our side. Now it should be coming to us. You can also resend that share over to them. And then finally, you can edit that share. And just a couple things we can change here other than going back over to the new share flow itself on the file. I can uncheck or check the notify option, and then when that access expires in terms of that link as well. So you do have those different ways of being able to control and manage those shares right from your inbox or through the means of just clicking on the file and managing the links through that. If I click on compose, that is just going to open up just, again, the same way in sending a share through email. So this would be the same way if I went back over my dashboard, click share files, and I chose to send to specific people. And then finally, also, we do have a receive section. So I have an example here. Somebody sent this to me as a share. If, say, for instance, I accidentally deleted from my other mailbox, I can always come in here and retrieve it from my ShareFile inbox. And this is the actual message that was sent to me. Same thing that you would see if it got sent to your, say, Outlook mailbox. And I can simply open up these links if I, say, forgot what got sent to me, who sent it to me. Then I can simply open up the document from there, and I should be able to preview it and have anything that I need to access. So that's very simple. Now, for instance, if I did want to, say, for instance, archive this, it was very important. I want to be sure I save this. I can simply archive there. I can tell it to mark as unread. And also, if I wanted to, again, look at that, that's the same thing as me clicking it. I can click on view there. So again, your archive here I don't have anything, but again, a great space to keep your most important shares or emails that are actually sent to you. All right, let's go over one last thing. I showed you how to share files. I showed you how to request files. I showed you how to kind of manage those individual links, if you will, when I click on a file and click on share. And then we went through the inbox in terms of managing who sent you something or what I sent something out. I'll be able to retrieve that information. But let's put a scenario into play here. Let's say, for instance, I'm working on a project and I have several people within my company, and it could be also external people. I have subcontractors that are working on a project and they need access to files that I'm constantly uploading or others are uploading, so we could collaborate together. So with that, if we go into shared folders, let's talk about this internal company folder here. So again, this could be a project I'm working on, and it has a bunch of schematic drawings. It has information that we've created in terms of documentation, and I have several people that need to access this. Instead of just individually sharing, just like we went through, or requesting files from people like our subcontractors, we can give people access to this folder so they can see it, and that will in turn allow them to see it under their shared folders. So if you've created say a folder within the shared folder section, you can click on people on this folder. And under here is where you can manage and add people to the folder, so they can access this all the time. So for this instance, as you can see, I'm the owner of the folder. I have full rights. We do have our super users. This is a dedicated group of admins that have access to all folders. Again, this is more of an advanced topic we'll cover in another webinar. But in here, if I wanted to add people, I could simply click on adding people here. And I need to add John Doe. John Doe's a subcontractor. He needs to access all the files that I have in here. So instead of me just individually creating those shares, I want him to gain access to this pretty much permanently. And by the way, you'll see that, and I should have slowed down a little bit, but as you can see, your folder permissions off the right, these are really straightforward. If I give them the view, download, and upload, that means just that. They can see the contents within the folder. They can download and upload into the folder. If I give them delete access, they could delete items within the folder. And then finally, admin access gives you permission to allow them to change certain aspects within the folder. There are other folder options you could add to it, like retention policies, if you will. So you usually don't want to give too many people admin access, because that allows them to first change those settings, but also allows them to add additional people to the folder. So again, definitely more reserved for people that are on the management side or are going to manage that folder. You would only want to give them the admin access. You do have folder alerts, so you can get notified if there's a new download or upload within the folder. And then I can notify when I add people. So just like how I added John Doe, I can actually have that checked so that it sends him a message to indicate that now he has access to that folder. And that's it. It's very simple in terms of creating those users here and allowing them to have access to the folder in question itself. You do have, as you see, more options. This is what I was talking about in terms of the different capabilities of being an administrator on the folder. You do have things like in the advanced folder section, the ability to create of course, a retention policy, so files can automatically delete after a certain period of time. The most important thing is also if, say for instance, somebody did have access to this already, but they weren't sure where exactly it was in their shared folder, they can always come in here as the administrator or the owner of the folder and copy the direct link and send them over that direct link. And that should, if he has access in here, allow them to be able to directly get into this folder itself. And I believe I added Mr. John Doe. So again, he's going to be notified one last time. We're going to bug him. And we're going to come in here, and as you can see, I was added to that folder. It's going to let me know. And if I click on that, it should allow me to then come into that folder. Now, one big difference about this operation is they absolutely need to be logged into the account, their ShareFile account, before they can access that folder. Because again, I'm giving them access to their user. So this isn't a share link. This is something that they're going to have access within the ShareFile instance. So when they log in, just like how we see here, they would go under their shared folders, and then they would simply see, of course, the new internal folder that we've created for the company, and we can access it.